All right, hello, hello, hello. How's everybody doing? How's it going there, Rasmus? Good to see you. So we're back in the career games. I'm trying to decide if I wanted to play some workbench and workshop and do a little bit of workshop work, or go ahead and get back into the career game. I'm just gonna play with the audio a little bit. We got too much music in my ears. That's better. All right, good. So I think we'll do a little bit of career here, and if we want to move over, I'll go over and do some more building stuff. But let's check the. This has a lot of fuel in it. And so okay, so I put it over here to get the diesel quantity up. As you can see, it's currently at 49.64 is where we stopped it. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna put this in the bench. All right, and that should be in the bench now. We got, yep, 33,853. And so the whole point of this is I'm going to take my new helicopter over and start selling some diesel. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to wait till those benches pop in. Wait for the signs to pop in. It'll take just a couple seconds. Let's go ahead. It's been a while since I've been on, so let's go ahead and figure out what I want to do. So what we have done is we started here at Spy Cakes, bought Draymore last time, did some missions to be able to accomplish that. We got a good bit of cash, but we're going to launch my new helicopter. We're going to bring it up and sell some diesel, which we bought here at the diesel buy. So this is a good base to start at because you can buy some diesel here. The cell's there. It's not too far away. You got a bunch of different methods. Could also do some container business going from here to there. I do want to do a new episode of the New Player Career Build series. Somebody had commented on one of the videos that they wish I had continued the series, and so part of that series, the New Player Career Build series, was very much viewer driven. If you needed, as a new player or a returning, as a seasoned player, if you needed some more information by asking what you wanted, that helps. So they didn't really say what they were looking for, but I had some ideas of things that would be helpful. And so kind of get into that in the career game here. I want to build a crane, and part of that is I showed last episode you can launch vehicles yourself with the add-on editor for free, and then you can despawn them for free. And so it makes it so that you can RP that instead of, especially early game, getting into containers and boats is difficult because your boats generally aren't big enough to be able to load and unload the containers themselves via their own crane. It's also pretty technically challenging to do so. So by being able to put a dock crane on either the docks, you can load your ship with a dock crane that you spawn in via add-on. And then you can despawn it so that it's not using up a bunch of resources. And then you can take your boat over here, and then you can spawn the crane again using the add-on for free, and then unload your boat. You could also spawn things like shifters to move the container to the correct spot. So you're not having to do all of that logistics yourself. And then often, you'd have to own this base to be able to spawn something to offload the container and then move it over to the storage area. So you feel like you can't do containers until you own the base, and that's not the case. So part of what I want to get into with the new episode of the New Player Career Build series is showing you that, no, you don't need to own the base. You can spawn something for free. You can RP it as, you should be able to get loaded by Dock A and have Dock B unload you, and you shouldn't have to get involved in that process. You shouldn't have to provide your own loading and unloading if you don't want. So, let's go ahead and we'll grab the helicopter. We'll head over there. I don't see the pumps popping up yet, but they're likely there. So we have the Vulture. We'll grab a module for it. Should be done, the fuel module. Famous last words, I know, but put the fuel module on here. We tested it. I do remember testing it last time. All right, we're going to click on the spawner and pick what we want. We want diesel full. I'm going to have to redo the landing gear, and you'll see why here in a second. All right, so that's pretty cheap. This, as you can see, it sinks in. I could just use caster wheels. That would fix that problem. I want to do some different gear on this. So we'll play with that a little bit later. But let's go ahead and try to get this diesel transported over there. All right, master power's on. The left fuel valve's on. We'll start up the left side. All right, number 1 is going. We'll go ahead and turn on the gen for number 1. We'll do the fuel valve for number 2. We are lifting reasonably heavy amount of fuel here, so we're going to turn both engines on. I talked about it earlier. This was designed so that you can operate this helicopter on one engine. And so if you're lifting something light, or say you're just going from point A or point to point B, you don't necessarily need full power, right? You maybe need full power for transporting heavy things, but you don't necessarily need it for just transporting the helicopter's weight itself. And so by being able to shut down one of the engines and still, fly, that makes it so that you can save a lot of fuel. We talked about this last time. You see how the blades are kind of flipping, flapping. So likely one of the elements, the pitch element, I believe it's probably the pitch element. It's either pitch or collective. The sensitivity of the gyro is just set too high, so we just need to decrease that. Logo comes on. All right, and there's the vulture that I hand drew, so that's in there. We'll head over here. We'll pump out. We'll sell this fuel. This is about, what was it? I think like almost 7,000 liters. So we're buying for $2 and we're selling for $3. So we're making about about $1 per liter. So we'll make a good $6 grand, of profit on this. 6 to 7 grand of profit on this. I like kind of going out and testing these vehicles. That really gives them, it really tells you what they need for their purpose. And so things like cameras are definitely coming, more modules. Alright, we're parked up. Let's go ahead and shut down the engines here. So we do that with the fuel valves. Don't think I've set my parking brake yet. Might have done it with 5 last episode. I can't remember. So let's go through the keys. I think it might be 6. Nope. 5, 4. No, okay, so I didn't set the brakes. All right, that's not helpful. Let's go rotor brake on. That's part of our issue with movement, is the rotor brakes going. So I do need battery master on for the power, but let's see what we can do here. I got a defib on me. Let's shut that. We use our own hoses here. We want to pump out. We'd also do gravity, which would allow the pumps over here to do it for us, and we wouldn't have to actively use our pumps. So if we want to save a little electricity, we can do that. Just pump on. Let's make sure we're making money. We are, as you can see, it's coming in there. So the O is for out. It's pumping out. So we know that our pump is helping. This is pumping in. All right, and we're gaining some cash here. So we'll kind of look at the quantity here. As you can see, it's going down pretty fast. Be a good way to make some cash. Oh, that's good, Rasmus. All right, so well, I don't know why that beacon. 2 of these. Okay, I have to fill that. I moved the beacon down there below the vulture. Let's check. Input electricity is off. Let's see what electricity looks like here for us. Plenty of electricity. It's working fine. So part of the electrical too is you have electricity on these hard points, so likely it's getting its electricity from the hard points. I've shut off the master in here, so this stuff in here should not be powered. Let me look real quick. Yeah, so see that's barely powered there. And then that's because the battery master on. So that's preventing the helicopter's battery from getting used up, and then I can't start my engines. So using the hard points on both this and from where it connects, and that will give us enough electricity to run most of the CDC. Those hard points are also batteries. So it's where a lot of people have problems. They look and they're like, oh, you know, I've segregated all my batteries, but we're still losing electricity. And oftentimes it's the hard points also have electrical connections. They're essentially batteries. So, all right, but going pretty well here for this. I could drop this. If you don't know this, you can drop these with your fingers or a hand in game. Fingers a little weird, but you can just pretty much go to the hard point. Let's see if I can jump up there. I gotta jump and then crouch. See, let's see if I can get there. Eventually I'll put on a multifunction display page the ability to disconnect these hard points, but you should be able to, if you can get there, see that? It says, and there we go, we just dropped it. So we can drop it and we can get out of here if we wanted and let this continue. And again, it's got the electricity from the hard point that is on the module. So probably shouldn't have dropped that. It's actually not the worst thing in the world because what will happen is, let's say I fly away from it. As long as I stay within a reasonable distance, it won't despawn. If I go back to the base and I despawn the helicopter, I'll get the part back. So it's not the end of the world that I dropped it. But it would be good to get some way to reconnect these. So I got to think about that as well. So let's go ahead and let's go jump in one of these houses, see if we can't get a snoozer-roozer going and get a mission. And we'll either fly the helicopter off, launch a boat. We can't despawn it because we will lose that container, so try not to do that. But we come in here and we sleep. I have the day-night cycle shut off just so that we can, you guys can actually see what I'm doing. I like doing some night stuff, but it's hard for everybody to watch, so try to have a little bit of a balance. All right, so I got something off the south here. Blue recreational boat's gone missing. If you also look at my options here, no clip is deselected. That's why it spawns close. So that gives us a mission. No, I have not looked at them. I've been working all week. So. I'll look at them eventually. No container in here. I'm just hunting for more money. Like to get some of my bigger ships out. You know, part of the design of this Vulture, why, like some people are like, why is it so, you know, stout? Real ones do this. Like, I don't give a shit. Like, oftentimes when somebody builds something, they're building it for their own purposes that you may not know. Kind of think of that, because this is being built to a size that will fit on my ships. That's why it's so stubby. It's supposed to fit on my ships. You know, and that's kind of the goal. And I want it to be small and able to fit on my ships. And so all of those ideas people had aren't really helpful when you don't understand what I'm going for. I'm trying to make sure this fits on my ships. All right, we're going to fly away. We're going to let this cook. This does not have a keep active block on it, so we got to keep that in mind. But we're going to try to stay in a reasonable range of this and see what happens. So let's see what the flow rates are on this. Pretty good. Not too bad there. I'm going to go ahead and we'll fly off. I can always reload the save if something happens that I don't intend. All right, so now, as I was talking about earlier, right, we don't need both engines, right? We're not carrying anything heavy right now. We're just carrying the mass of the of the helicopter itself. So we don't need 2 engines running, burning up a bunch of fuel, right? And especially seeing in game, we don't start with a ton of jet fuel, which this runs on. I only have 1590 left there and 1922, so I don't have tons and tons of jet fuel. And I'm probably not going to get to refining very quickly, so because of that, I want to keep that in mind, right? So I'm just kind of waiting for the rotor blades to spin up a little bit. Because with one engine, it takes longer for this to spin up. Yes, Rasmus, I've looked up the numbers. Yep. Again, I was going to use binary if it was advantageous to me, and it wasn't at the time, so I decided not to do it. Yep. Alright, so you see it flies fine on one engine, and this saves us a good bit of fuel. So I don't really need it to because I'm not hauling that much mass. So if I get too far away from the module, it will despawn. So we're gonna try not to do that. I don't have to respawn this. I should put a keep active block on it so that doesn't happen. I also have to think about how I'm gonna attach those. So one thought I had is I do want to rework the landing gear anyway. If I can put some pistons in the landing gear, that'll allow me to either raise up or lower the helicopter, and in doing so, I can connect the modules. So, yeah, I don't really need retractable gear on this. It only goes about 60, 70 knots. So, does it really need to lose that much drag? No. Part of the reason I want to do it is I have modules for picking up containers, and I kind of want to be able to raise the gear up for that. Alright, good. So let's kill some lights. Lights are on the hot bus, so they will keep going, whether or not I get out or not. So, alright, so we got this rescue mission to do. We'll try to do it all at once. We can tell that that container is still up and running because, as you can see, it is still working. Now, we got over there. Remember, we were not showing the pumps on our map, but they were there when we arrived. It takes a little while for them to show in the world. We'll grab our boat. We've got the blue recreational boats gone missing. Search the area, locate the emergency. 2,000. We got 55 minutes. All right, let's go in there and grab our boat. So, you know, I always talk about how, like, one way to keep yourself interested and not getting bored is you come up with short-term, long-term, medium-term goals. And so, like, our short-term goals here, just make some money. And those feed into our medium and long-term goals. Medium goals are, I would like to get containers going back and forth. Long-term goals are going to be get my big stuff like Tethys into the world so I can use my home ship, one of my home ships, to go out there, which can hold, you know, boats and planes and everything else. Helicopters, kind of a live aboard ship, which is kind of can do all the missions, you know, and I can live aboard. So that's those are some of the long-term goals. Some of the medium-term goals are going to be we have to be able to get some jet fuel. Diesel's easy. Part of this base here, we can buy diesel. So we don't have to worry about that. That's reasonably cheap. We can buy diesel whenever we need it. We can definitely make enough profit that we don't have to worry about we don't have to worry about making diesel. Making jet fuel, on the other hand, or having a reliable source to buy jet fuel is going to be important to us. And really, this is a refiner island down here. That's pretty good hike to get down there to go buy some jet fuel. So kind of need to get some jet fuel at some point, and likely, probably the way I'll do it is with refining. That's probably going to be the best bet for us. All right, so we're kind of headed towards this area where this blue boat was. Is that it? It might be it. That's it. All right. Let's see. I got override weather on for now just to keep it so. We were fogged out for a lot of the gameplay, so I've kind of chilled that out a little bit so that we're not, you guys can actually see some of what's going on. As it gets too foggy, too dark, it makes it nobody can see what's going on. All right, there's the boat there, likely. Let's see, does it extend up to the rocks? Yeah, so you see it's up off these rocks. It extends right up there, and it's right off those rocks. So doesn't look like we're going that fast, but we are going about 40 knots in the water. So pretty fast for a boat. Doesn't take us long to get from point A to point B. If we bring the map back up, I think we may have gotten too far away and despawned that, which that would suck, but I'll go check on it in a second here and see if it despawned. Get over to this mission. If that happened, I'm going to have to, we'll reboot the save and we'll make some changes. Put a keep active on there so that we can keep that pumping while I'm doing something else. The other thing I don't mind doing is teleporting across the map, because like you play it as we're different characters. You know, I flew the helicopter over there. That character's staying with the helicopter and doing their thing, and then I switch characters to go and do a rescue. So instead of me sitting there, like some people will sit there and watch, you know, paint dry and then say they're bored. Yeah, nobody forced you to sit there and watch paint dry. Go do something else, right? Switch characters, teleport away, go do something else, and then you'll have a better time, you know? Yeah, that's why I'm a big advocate for that custom menu. Is it allows you to move your character all over the place, and if you're really somebody who doesn't want to sit there and watch, you know, 4,000 liters of diesel go into a, you know, be sold, you know, you don't have to. You can go teleport off, go do another mission. Keep yourself active. Yeah, so we'll go check up on this, see what's up with that. We're going to bring him over here. We're going to fly by there. And we'll probably fly over to the... I have no place for this guy. Why am I coming here? That was probably not wise. I'll teleport over. We'll see what's up with this... yeah, I'll teleport over and we'll see what's up with this container of diesel. And then that way if I need to restart, we'll restart. And I just need to make a couple changes. I need to put a keep active on there. Could just leave the helicopter there and teleport myself over here to do a rescue instead of flying back. I'll put him off there. Put that back on the workbench. All right, we're going to go over here. I'm going to see what's up. Music is either like on or off, it seems. All right, so it's going now, and it's, yep. So it's just we get too far away from it. So a keep active block will fix that. Just as the name says, it keeps it active. So what's happening in a lot of games is, right, it would take a lot of processing power for the game to keep all of the world spawned in. And this is why this game, why a lot of people complain that the multiplayer has bad performance, right? So the way a single player game works, right, is if I'm in this area, maybe this area is all that's spawned in. And as I get further and further away, say things like containers disappear at a certain distance from them because you can no longer see them anyway, you might as well get rid of them, right? And some games are very advanced where, like, if you walk out of a room, that room disappears behind you. And if you turn around and start to walk back into the room appears a fraction of a second before you get in it, so that it's not processing. And then everything behind you is already despawned. And so things that are further away from you will despawn. Well, if you have a multiplayer world and there's people up here and people down here and people over here, nothing can despawn. So your PC is having to load in everything, even though, you know, you are not there. And so that's what a keep active will do, is it says, hey, keep this area active so this thing runs. So that when I get far enough away, say my ship that is on autopilot does not get off autopilot. It stays on autopilot and it goes and does its thing. All right. And so that's what a keep active does. And so you need to put them on your build if you want it to stay active. All right, he's still over there. I don't have a place for him in the helicopter. Let's go ahead and grab something to drive over there. So I think what we'll do is I want to do some container missions. I definitely am going to use a lot of builds that I've already made. But it would be kind of cool. I want to get going with this New Player Career Build Series episode where we go ahead and do some cranes that will allow us to kind of showcase how you can use some small boats that you'd need to be able to have a dock crane for and do some of these container missions. But we can also see where my start is. Do I have a key? I don't think I have a key on this one. It's usually 5 and 6. 6, okay. 5 is usually break and 6. And so, you know, what you can do is you can spawn with the add-on editor a little crane here. You can go ahead, put the container on your boat, your small boat. You just need a, you know, big enough boat to carry the container instead of a boat that's big enough to also have its own crane. And then you spawn a crane at the other side and you unload. And that way you can get into cargo a lot earlier. All right, good. This is my Patney. I think this is on the workshop. Yeah, it's modeled off the Jimny. That's why it's called the Patney, and Pat's my brand. So, Precision Advanced Technologies. I like this little car. It's turned out nice. Up there's that, I think there's a bunny and then a fox up to my left after that. This is pretty much why I always talk about, like, I pretty much, like, if anyone's having any engine problems, I'll send them my modular engine tutorial series. I think modular engines are so far superior to any of the prefabs, and so, like, I'll show you what this has, and I can't remember. It might be a 3-cylinder, but you can have some really tiny motors, and the big thing is where a lot of people have problems is their transmission. And if you have a proper transmission, you're using mechanical advantage to get all the power out of a small engine, and you can really have a small engine and have vehicles that work properly, and that's why it works IRL, you know. And some people who don't understand transmissions yet will just brute force it with tons and tons and tons of power. But, you know, the sooner you can learn modulars, and they're really not all that challenge. You don't have to understand every element to put something in your vehicle, right? You see this all day long with people putting other people's ECUs in their cars and whatnot. You can put those things in, and like my tutorials, you can use the ECU, and then you can follow the tutorial and learn each part as you go, and you have a working vehicle, and you can make some changes, see what happens, and you kind of learn the logic through that kind of piecing it together. You don't have to learn it all at once. You don't have to. Getting into modules really isn't that challenging. Like, watch the first 20 minutes of my first episode of the Module Engine tutorial series, and you'll be able to at least understand how to put the engine together, take my ECU, stick it in your build, and it works. And then if you want to learn further how each component of the ECU works, you can do that. But you don't have to either. You can go in and just learn as much as you want and take it piece by piece. You can't learn all in one day. You got to kind of learn a little, play, have some fun, have a good mix between play and learning. It's a good balance. I got to get my camera recentered there so I don't run off the bridge. So much of the cars in this game, to make them really work well for you, is going to be understanding the transmission. Because you can take, like I said, small engines make the transmission work, but also you're keeping the engine under stressed, and because of that, you don't have to worry about what a lot of people have issues with, which is cooling. If you're using a transmission to get the most out of your engine and not overstress your engine, well then it's pretty damn easy to cool a modular engine, especially cars are a piece of cake to cool once you learn how to put a proper transmission in. So let's see where we're going here. We're going 84 miles an hour. So we're going 84 miles an hour on this. So it might look slow, but we're doing 84 miles an hour. So we're doing normal highway speeds down here. Most of the elements of this car are in my tutorials if you're interested and you need to know how to build something like this. The Modular Engine tutorial series, almost every one of my car builds, I take that microcontroller that's in the tutorial and I start with it. So it's directly that ECU that I'm using from my tutorial to build all my stuff. So that way I know, is there any mistakes in there? Is it working? And it usually works for most things. And then to keep the car stable, you see how, like, if I steer and I steer back quickly, it's not like overreacting, skidding around. Well, that's the stability tutorial. I literally take the module from that tutorial video and I put it in my vehicles. So each element's in there. So there's diesel buy here too, if we ever needed it. Yep, that was where we're going. All right. Now, as we were talking about, we do have a diesel buy by this particular base. A lot of the bases you don't have it, so it's always a good habit if you get near a place to buy some diesel, buy some diesel. Put it in your vehicles, right? That way you're not taking too much from your base, and you're always adding to your base when you can. Do we have a park brake space on this one? Okay, there we go. All right, there we go. I should have I didn't put any med kits on me. I should have. This guy, I'm not going to get that much money. Pumping out, okay, and then where's the fuel filler on this one? Right there. All right, so we'll fill this up while we're dumping this Johnny off. I should have brought a health kit with me. That way I could have topped him off, because we're not going to get maximum money for him. But, part of it's the adventure. I don't really care. Still got 2,000 from that. That's pretty good. If you saw the mission show, we get 2,000. We ended up getting 2066. They did increase the rates for it. But it doesn't necessarily always show, so the likelihood is you're going to get more money than what's showing. It would be nice if they went back in there and did it, but again, I'd rather them kind of balance it out and then put the actual visuals of being able to see later than the other way around, where they wait until they can do everything at once and then we can't get those improvements we need. Other things we can get into that will be kind of fun is we can get into some fishing if we need a little extra cash. Got a lot of different types of like gameplay we can pretty much do right at our base, so we don't have to move around too much. All right, we've got fuel somewhere, right? Battery, volts, engine temp. Okay, I don't have a fuel gauge, I don't think. All right, I don't have a fuel gauge, that's fine. All right, and let's look. We're definitely too far away. As you can see, we're not making any money off that diesel cell, which is fine. But, yeah, I see a lot of people who are like, nah, I can't make good cars in game. There's no place to drive. The roads suck. Big to differ, you know. I like making cars and trucks, and you can see in my career series, build a lot of cars and trucks, and they work great. You know, the information's out there how to do it. You know, you can build these things, and they're a lot of fun. You know, kind of my favorite thing in game is Russian dolling everything. So I really love to have things like home ships where let's try to make some money real quick. Stand by me at the last second making turns. I like Russian doll and things. So what I mean by that is, if you've never seen Russian dolls, they're like these little wood dolls that you put. You have a big doll, then it's got a little doll, then there's a smaller doll inside that doll, and dolls all the way down. And so you can. So what I like about that is, if I have a large home ship that does everything, I can have a helicopter on that ship, and I can have a boat on that ship, and I can have all these different things that I can then kind of put inside of another thing. So like I made a helicopter that can hold one of my little cars. And so that's a lot of fun to me, is making some vehicles that fit into other vehicles. And so there is an animal making a hell of a racket around here. Whole reason I made this stop is I'm looking for crates, and part of it is to get to the end game a little bit quicker, have extra cash here, so that if we can get some of my bigger equipment out and just advance more quickly, you know, like some of the end game stuff. So like I was talking about, having those short, medium, and long-term goals. By having all those goals, you know, even though I'm on a short-term goal here, just doing some missions and, you know, enjoying that content, my medium and long-term goals of trying to like buy some big expensive stuff is telling me, hey, stop at the chemical plant and see if there's some crates. You know, go look for some extra money here and there, because that makes those long-term goals come in a little bit quicker. I hear this animal. I don't see where they are, though. I was going to open the hood. Let me open the hood for you if I can find where I put the hood latch. I was going to try to see what size engine this was. So this looks like... this looks like a 4-cylinder. Yeah, it's a 4-cylinder. So there's a 4-cylinder in there. So I think the real Jimny has a straight 4. And I want to at least have the same size engine. You also notice, like, my wheels aren't spinning. That's all due to the transmission. And so something in this game that happens, and it's done to try to help the player out, and it confuses a lot of people, and it makes a lot of people kind of like, oh, devs don't know what they're doing. They did this, you know, I don't think it was necessarily the right way to do it, but the problem is I tend to lean on, hey, go learn how the mechanics work in real life, go learn how the mechanics work in game, and then make it work in game. But there's a lot of people who are like, they're just not there, and they just don't want to spend all day learning, and so they want to go play. and that's perfectly fine. So part of it is they made it so that if you over torque the wheels, they spin. If you under torque, if you go to too high of a gear, which is under torquing, you also spin your wheels, and it's a place to have some movement, some give, and you need some give so that somebody with no knowledge of how an engine or transmission works can play the game. And so the problem with that is the wheels spin all the time. Well, if you put a proper transmission in, like I have in this, then the wheels don't spin. And the reason is, you're in the correct gear, and the wheels are not being over torqued or under torqued, and they don't spin. And so I don't have any problems with wheels spinning or smoking. And so really it is that easy to fix, is by putting in a proper transmission. I don't think the wheels in this car are gripped up, but not sure. I can't remember back to when I built this car. This car has been out for a while. I need to learn how to... I know how they're doing it, but I gotta kind of play with CVTs, because like Alistair has a Master Builder challenge, and I would like to just do it. And I was working on it. I got close to finishing it, but part of it's like I just want to put a proper transmission in the car, and part of that challenge is you don't put a proper transmission in the car. You only have one gearbox to make it do the speed you need to do, and so I need to play with that. So essentially, I need to come up with a CVT. But I hate CVTs, IRL and in-game. CVT in real life is gross. Not interested in a CVT. I get somebody to... I stop reporting these people on Twitch. I don't care anymore. I just block them on Restream. Trying to read some chat while I'm driving, Rasmus. So I'll blame you if I crash. I'll give it a second, then I'll... Let's go get over here for a second, and then we'll go ahead and read chat so I don't crash. Because I really don't want to go in the drink here. All right, let's look at our money. So see, the money is going back up. So we have officially gotten close enough to our fuel container that we're trying to sell with, that it is selling again. So like I was talking about how games cull, and again, I'm not a game program. I have no expertise in that, but I just know from what I've learned myself. But by us getting closer without a keep active block, we're now close enough that that has actually come back to the world, and our processing power of our computer is being allowed to continue the processes required to make this this piece of logic work over here. And so we've gotten close enough, you can see we're selling again. Money's going up. And a keep active will fix that, where it will essentially, it's saying, hey, I always want this part to be in the world. And some games will do this where everything disappears, even the hopper itself, but the data stays in place. It knows, okay, well, this is how many liters are in there, this is the flow rate, dotty, keep it running. I don't know how this game does that. I assume it keeps it actively in the game. All right, let's read some chat here. Supercharging just made it less powerful. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, I just don't like a CVT just because it's kind of like a... It's just from a technical standpoint. Like, I would love to get a manual again. I like the activity of shifting. I like rev matching. It's why I enjoy riding my motorcycles, is I'm actually operating the machine. CVTs, especially some of the newer CVTs and electric CVTs are very cool from a efficiency standpoint and from what they're doing, essentially giving you constantly variable gearing. You know, one of the issues, just from a sound perspective, I don't like, and a lot of them have actually made the CVTs less efficient because they're annoying people. And so, for example, like the best thing to do is you put your engine at peak power and you vary your gearing with the CVT so that the engine's always at peak efficiency or power, whichever you're looking for, and then it's gearing to run it at that rate. And the problem with some of the CVTs is, like, you know, a regular car sounds like this: womp shift, womp shift. And it sounds like that because you're going from your low RPM, which say is 1,000, up to your shift point. Let's say it's at 6,000. Then when you shift, your next gear is the low point of that gear should be around 1,000. And then you're revving back up to 6. Then you shift to your next gear. Guess what? Low point 1,000, 6 is the high point. And so you keep by setting the spacing of your gears, it should set up correctly like that. With a CVT, you would say bring the engine up to 6 and it would stay there. So instead of CVT sounds like this, wah. And as you can imagine, that's not pleasant. It's not what most of us are used to or like to hear. And so one of the things they went and did was they went back and they decided to actually make them less efficient, so there's a little bit of a different sound in the engine. So as you're revving, it revs a little bit so that it sounds more like what people are accustomed to. And it's not that single tone droning noise. How's it going there, Daniel? Good to see you. Oh, very nice. You can figure out sailing? Yeah, like Daniel was saying, CVT is convenient but boring. Yep. It's like automatics. I'm not a huge fan of automatics. They're not fun to me. I don't have fun driving an automatic car. So I really would like to get a fun car with a manual before I can't get them anymore. So like I was looking at like a 2007 Porsche 911 because, you know, I want the manual. And looking at like the BMW M2 with a manual and looking at, Acura, what is it? I forget what the TX, what is it? It's the sport one, so. Acura Integra Type S. Type S has the, essentially has the Honda, the Type R engine transmission in the Acura Integra body. So it's a nice engine and transmission combination. Somebody I know got one of the new Nissan Zs, which has a manual transmission. So it's like, it's a driver's car. You want, you know, if you like driving, you like shifting, you like the mechanics of it. That's why, like, I have my motorcycles. I enjoy that as well. You know, you want something that's engaging and entertaining, and, you know, I really find CVTs to be boring. It's fine for, you know, an everyday driver, an airport car, something like that, but for, you know, a fun car, I want it to be fun. I want it to have that engaging driving experience, and that's why I put manuals in game, is they're engaging. I have to be in the right gear. I'm going to lug. I need to downshift and upshift. It gives me something to do. No, not an NSX. I don't have NSX money. They have an NSX for sale on my other monitor here for $287,000. So I could buy it, but it'll be a well waste of money. Integra Type S is about 50, 55, 56. I would like a two-door, but I do like the Integra Type S. You know, it's Honda, so it's going to be reliable. Maintenance costs are going to be reasonable. It's got a lot of shared parts with Honda, so it makes it a lot easier. I don't like that necessarily that's four-wheel drive, or four-wheel drive, front-wheel drive, but it has 6 speeds manual. It's got the 2-liter i4 in it. I think it's turboed up. You know, but it's practical with 4 doors. I'm keeping my regular car for taking to the airport, but you know, it would be nice to have something a little bit fun and engaging. Like a 911 you can't beat. Like the '07 911 would be really fun, but you got to start running into Porsche maintenance costs. And nobody's got no time for Porsche maintenance costs. You know, the back of the Porsche motor of a 911 is very tight. Not easy to get in and out of there yourself to do the maintenance, so that would be kind of something that would keep me away from the 911. I like this little car. This car is fun. I got the pickup truck version too. We'll go ahead and drive back. This is making progress. But you can see we're making good money here. We've still got our helicopter out. We've got this out the base, so got the mission done at least. Let's go ahead and make sure that teleport's off. We'll go sleep real quick. See if we can't ping another mission, and we can either decide to do it or not. Black fishing boat distress, assistance, transponder. Okay, I'm gonna just sleep again, get another mission going. Yellow fishing boat servicing. This probably needs fuel or a repair or both. Trying to see if I can get some land emissions. Yeah, I like the Subarus with all-wheel drive. You know, Tacoma would be interesting. Tacoma, I could get a manual truck and also have, you know, 4-wheel drive. The problem with the new Tacomas, you can't get the 2-door Tacoma with the manual. You have to get a 4-door Tacoma. Which, oh, there we go. Yellow Cabrio, distress. That's us. All right, we're going to do that one. Oh, that was a cliff. All right. I have no suspension on this car. So that's another thing I see a lot of people do is they go and they throw suspension. That's fine, especially like they're going banging off everything. But like you can run off some stuff and not break anything without any suspension. And I actually find most of the time I break less stuff without suspension because like say you'll see it here in a second as I go on to this bridge. I'm not hitting it too hard, but some of the bridges, not this one, will have that little bit of a lip. And with the suspension, right, the wheels will go up and it will keep the bottom of your car at the level of the obstacle and you ram right into it and break your car. Where if you have a hard suspension, when the wheels hit it, the wheels are going to push the car up and over the obstacle. And yeah, you might pop the wheel up a little bit, but it's going to keep you from damaging your car. So I rarely put suspension on my vehicles. I have them on some that are like, some of my amphibs that I'm like really hammering around, I will put them on, but most of the time I don't rock suspension on my vehicles. I think Sergeant had a good idea, which I think was like have a kiosk at cargo terminals and you can order up things like pallets and cargo, and so you can actually call for the cargo you want. Oh, there's a Beamer right there. Speaking about M2s, what would this be? This would be more like a Z4. That'd be more like what is the model? No, it's got that could be trying to be a 911. I don't know. It's hard to tell. It's definitely an M car. That's the M badge on it. What's up? You going somewhere? All right. Chauffeur your ass in the back. Let's see. Just one? One casualty? All right. Whoop. I'm definitely trying to do more modular stuff. Is kind of my long-term game goal. Period. And so again, that kind of keeps me engaged in the game. And so like one of the reasons I built this helicopter was the engine units, the rotor units, and all the control units. So it's going to be everything from gauges in the cockpit to cameras to all the stuff that's going with this helicopter. Eventually, when I finish the helicopter, I'm going to make a module. And that will be a coax module that has everything to operate my coax helicopter, so that if I want to build another coax helicopter, take the engines, I can take all the internals and just make a new helicopter. It makes it a lot easier. I just have to build the frame of the helicopter and the interior and everything else, which can be quite labor intensive, but it's a hell of a lot less labor intensive than starting from scratch. And so I also want to make a tandem. And then there's some car things I want to do. So kind of having these wants and needs in game will keep me engaged. Give me plenty to do. But, you know, part of it is I can't just reinvent every vehicle I make. I just don't have the game time anymore to do it, so it definitely helps by having those modules. Like, once I get this coax, I could slap another coax together very quickly because I just need to make the frame, the body of it, put the module itself in with all the connected parts. They're all in one place, and then bingo, we've got a new helicopter. All right, so one thing you notice too is notice the other guy we just put in here is gone. All right. If you get far enough away from the bases, they cull and they get rid of the people. Well, that is important because the people will cause lag, because if they're active on the map, it won't let the part of that map despawn. And actually, there's a problem with that I did report over by. I should probably just drive and not look where I'm going. Right here, this base here, St. Alexander Hospital. St. Alexander had this problem, and it was because of my oil drilling. So I would be drilling oil here, and this was close enough to St. Alexander's that it would never despawn because I had to keep active block here. And so the problem was I would go do rescues, I would dump people off at St. Alexander's, and because this was always active, people wouldn't despawn. Now I see a lot of posts of my game gets laggy after a certain number of days and I have to restart. I don't have that problem. I did have a little bit of that problem with St. Alexander's. Well, what did I do? I went up to the Arctic. And I flew up to the Arctic, and that allowed this whole area to despawn. And when I came back, guess what? No more people. They were gone. The other thing you can do too is empty out your drilling platform, despawn the keep active block, and that also does it. So you need to let that part of the map cull. It's also, if your containers are starting, like your expired containers, get out of the area. Get away so the map can despawn that stuff. I'm trying to read chat while I'm driving at, count them, 84 miles an hour, so it's not going to be good, so. There's no problem with suspension. Yes, exactly. If the vehicle is balanced correctly, the only time I have issues with the suspension really is if the vehicle's low. So if I'm running some cars, like my amphibs that are tall trucks, like I can run suspension. Other suspension I'm not a fan of, and using in game is for trucks. And the suspension in a big truck. Sorry, coughing on the mic. The problem with the suspension in, say, a tractor trailer or a dump truck, that suspension is for the load. It's not for you, the passenger. Most cars, right, the suspension is for you, the passenger. It's not for, you know, the load. And so when you get in a truck, the suspension is so stiff, it's that way because you're going to put 40,000 pounds sitting on the back axles, right? And so you need those back axles not to bottom out with 40,000 pounds on it. So if there's any less than 40,000 pounds on it, it's going to be a very stiff ride. And we can't get the suspension stiff enough in game to really behave properly the way a truck would IRL, as far as I'm concerned. So that's another reason I don't use it, especially on my trucks, is we don't have truck levels of stiff suspension in game. You know, so definitely all my trucking stuff, I put hard axles on. All right, so we're going to head back to base. And then we should be mostly done with pumping out this. Then I can get the helicopter back, and that will get that module to despawn. And then we'll do just a tiny bit of building. We'll make the module. We'll add a keep active block on that so that it keeps it will keep selling when we're not near it. And we'll do a quick test. Might as well. I'm not going to do the test right now. I'd have to screw around and do it with an add-on. One thing I do want to do is build a crane. I do want to do a... Oh, Jesus. I do want to do a little bit of building in this episode. So this vehicle here is inspired by the Jimny, and so part of the design of it, it's like if you look at kind of like the approach angle, you see the angle of the bumpers, how high the back bumper is, how high off the ground it is. If you notice, that's all designed to be like four-wheel drive so that I can bang into some of these obstacles and I don't hit my bumper. Car, if I was driving a car down this section, I'd probably slam in and get a ton of damage going. So it's, you got to look at kind of like real life vehicles, and you don't need to know why they do those things, but by just mimicking their design, you'll automatically build it the way that it needs to be. For example, for coming up to a steep change in grade, having that high bumper allows you to get the wheels to change angle before you hit your bumper. So like this here is kind of a big jump there. Let's see. Took it pretty well. And part of it landing properly is it's about 50-50 weight balance. So the weight's right between the wheels, so it wanted to come back and be flat. If you had it too far to the nose, it would bang the nose first, probably do a front flip. And if you had it too far back, it would land on the ass and probably cause some big instability problems. And also, if you slammed in your brakes and you have the center of gravity too far aft, guess what's going to happen? It's going to spin around because the back of the car wants to be in the front. Put it in the middle, the car will behave itself. Put it in the front, you'll get understeer, but the car will almost always go straight. All right, that was good to get that car back out. I enjoyed that. Let's go ahead. Make sure you let that autosave always stop. All right, so where are we at? We're not selling it. Oh, we are selling. Maybe not. Look. It went up $1, so let's go here. Let's teleport, see what this looks like. All right, good. So we're almost out of fuel here, so that'll be good. We still have a lot more in our base. We're just selling it slowly. Good, good. I'll read some of this chat here. Yeah, I'm just not interested in XML and the suspension. Like, if hard axles weren't working well enough for me, I would XML the suspension to be much stiffer, but I'm like, it's just an added thing that I find that the hard axle behaves properly enough to me for trucks that I'm not going to bother. All right, I'm going to go ahead and start putting this away. I'm not going to worry about that last liter. You got to, like, people are like, oh, the last liter takes forever. Okay, well, then don't do it. Like, who's making you do it? You know? The last liter's worth $1 profit to us. If it's not worth my time, I'm just not going to do it. I'm going to leave it there. Right? Nobody's, you know, nobody's got you, you know, is threatening you to go and do it. You know, if you don't want to do it, don't do it. Go do something else. All right, we're throwing away $1. Who cares? We'll put the gear up this time. Heading out of here. Yes, pendulum with power connection. That's cool. All right, let's go ahead and get out of here. Still waiting for the rotors to spin up. But I'm pretty happy with this helicopter so far. It's behaving the way I want it to. Like I said, a big part of it was just making that module for coax so that if I need to knock a coax together pretty quickly, I've got most of the parts I need. I would like to, now that I've been doing some more lure, I really want to get in and make my own PFD, MFD, MFDs for the flight gauges. These are all Basiliciouses, and so I'd like to make my own stuff, and I think it's gonna take a while to make a PFD, but I gotta make a PFD. Alright, now that module should be back in the base because we spawned it with the modules. That just despawned from the world. Alright, we're going to let the autosave stop, and then we're going to save. And what's today's date? 29. Alright, that's good. We'll save another save. Make the backup. I should have saved the backup first, but whatever. Alright, that's fine. Alright, good. There we go. We got our saves done. So that's looking good. Money situation, we're at 90. Not too bad. We've got a good bit of diesel still. We've got 18.5 and about 26.9 over here. So we got a good bit of wealth tied up in that. I was talking about earlier, I want to work on making a crane. So it's going to be a dock crane. I want to build it in this build series. And so this should make it reasonably easy for this to get built. And so let's go ahead and start working on that. So let's see, where do I want to do it? Let's go ahead and we'll save this up. I just did. I'm going to quickly put up the cover screen again. We'll go ahead. I'm going to load up one of my custom games. I'll probably go get a new drink. And then we'll go ahead and we'll build a crane that we can use the add-on editor to spawn in at each of our docks so that we can kind of show how, as a new player, you could use the add-on editor to get a free crane at each spot, so you don't have to wait till you have lots and lots and lots of money to be able to start doing containers via boat. Now, it's pretty easy for us to drive from Spy Cakes with 2 containers, drive over to Komodo, but a lot of people want to do it with boats. And we'll also probably maybe make a little boat at some point to be able to do this. I have plenty of stuff we could use, but we'll go ahead and do that as well. So I'm going to go ahead and, now that we're in the custom game here, we'll go ahead and I'm going to go over here just so that we can get, this base is pretty good here for just height. We've got a good height limit on this. That's one thing we could do. The other thing we can do is this. Let's find this island. I might build it on this island. That's not the island I want. This one. Let's do this. Let's build it here. And we'll use a static vehicle workbench. So, alright. So this here is a is for making structures. You'll see people, they'll be all over the place asking, hey, I built my boat on top of the oil rig and it won't move. Yeah, because you built it to be a structure, not to be a vehicle. And so it's reasonably easy to convert it, but this is where you want to build a structure ideally. So let's go ahead and we'll build here. And let's go ahead and I'm going to paint it this purple color. If you guys struggle to see this purple color, let me know. I just find the other one to be very obnoxious to work with from a color standpoint. All right, there we go. All right, so we're going to build a stationary crane with a good reach on it that can offload stuff off of our ship so that we don't have to provide this ourselves. That is 21, huh? That is 15. All right, 21 squared there. All right, that's the base plate. And do I round this base plate? I probably do. Doesn't need to be that wide. Probably that's probably better, I'd say. All right, so that'll be our base platform there. And kind of how they do this in a lot of games, right, is if you're ever able to no-clip in games, you can go underneath and you'll see, like, they use, it's funny, like in Tarkov, they use train cars for the containers. They just literally take containers that are on train cars and they sink them into the world so the train car is underneath the world. And so you want a little bit of a space there so this can go under the world, essentially. That's kind of the base platform there. And then what we'll do is we'll go... You need 2 ladder pieces. They can be split by 1 to be able to walk up them. All right, there we go. That's good there. All right, good. So that's going to be our base, kind of like a concrete platform for a crane. So I think I'm going to kind of do this tower crane style. I built tower cranes before, and I think that's what we're going to end up doing here. All right, so it can be the ladder to go up here. Una más. Okay, it's got to be out one for the doors. That's fine. Or for the stairs. Could push the stairs in the back wall. Something I could do. Let's do that. Just thinking about that, but how do I enter the top? Could go off to the side as well. We'll leave it for now, and then I'm going to try to work out how I want this crane to operate. How's it going there, Jay? How's it going? Pick a side, and we'll go off to the side here. Alright, so there's our door in. Come up top here, and then we'll put a platform out. Why is that not pulling? Okay, it is. It's just the color of it. Alright, good. Alright, so if that's the roof there, that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Stop. There's good. Ah, stop it. It's gonna be 3 because of the door opening that way. That takes care of the door. That's the railing there. Okay, that's that. That's gonna be a little bit clippy. All right, so that's gonna go up to top of the crane. I'm trying to decide how I want this crane cab to go. We can make this really fancy. I don't want to spend a million years on this either. Trying to decide how to do this the way I want to. I'm gonna look at some dock cranes. I might do something different. I'm trying to decide. I don't want to go overboard on this. That's the problem. And I'm already starting to go overboard on this. So, one thing I was thinking of doing is going remote control on this. Do a real simplified remote dock crane. So let's do that. Let's not rush this too much, though. The reimagining of this sucker real fast here, so. Yeah, I'm going overboard. So instead of doing that, because I'm like, okay, well, I need to get up there, and then I'm gonna like, oh, I'll have the basket come out and everything else. I'm like, oh my god, this is gonna take 100 years if I do it this way. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna simplify. What's the middle there? That is 13. So we're talking 7. 7 right there. All right, 7's the middle. Yeah, so we'll make this remote. Because the other thing too is by making a remote, it's gonna add some cool functionality, but it's also gonna allow me to go down there and connect it and stand there and watch it and do this much more quickly. So I think that's what I want to do. We started having to make it so I have to put an operator seat in there. That's a lot of extra work I don't need. All right, so there is the base of the crane. All right, so there's the first moving section of it. Yeah, we'll try to keep it simple. We'll simplify it even more by doing this. So there's the top of the tower crane there. All right. Go keep this easy. I just using track section 3 by track sections. Can't remember the width. I think it's 9 for containers. Anyone know off the top of the head? Shit. How wide is a container? Is it 13? Can't remember. All right, one more. Yeah, it's 11. Stop. Stop. Go back, you fucker. And that'll be good there. All right, so that's kind of a basic setup there. All right, we'll start making the micro for this. Swivel. All right, so I got that set up. We're gonna run it from a seat real quick, and then we'll probably change it up to the remote control. Gotta do a little bit different for a remote control, but you start with seat 2 and then... All right, so for the seat, WS going to be in and out, so that's going to be 2. So... what we should do is, can't do... With a remote control, I can't change if it's reset 100%, so what I should do is... Okay, so what we'll do is we'll make this so it works with the controller as well. So it essentially has to be if it's... All right, if 1 is greater than 0, if that's less than 0... And then if the rate of change is also greater or less than 0... do delta there, delta there. All right, if X and W... So if we have X and W, we're going to go ahead and track out... That's going to be track in. So the way this works for, so we can't do reset 100%. Reset 100% to push the W key, it goes to 1. Press let go, it goes to 0. Press the S key, it goes to -1. It's easy to read as you essentially turn WS into on-off switches or push buttons. So what we can do with this, though, is when I push down on W with a controller or something that's not set to reset 100%, what it allows me to do is when I press W, it's going to start slowly counting up to 1. So that is going to be greater than 0, right? Because it's counting up. So it'll be 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4. That's greater than 0. So that triggers it, right? But the problem is when I let go of the button, it's going to take a second for it to come back. And so it's still going to be, say, a 0.3 when you let go of it, and it's still going to keep it going out, so it's going to have lag, and we don't want the lag. And so to get rid of the lag, we use the deltas, and that's the change of rate. So when we're pressing on, let me see, I'm going to move these around, but when we're pressing on the W key, the delta is going to be positive. It's going to be greater than 0. As soon as we let go of the key, the delta now becomes negative. And so it's one of these are not going to be working. And so as soon as one of them, the delta in this case, stops, it's going to stop moving. All right, now we might be able to just do this with a delta, but I usually do it this way, so we'll see. But let's do that. I've always done it this way, so I can't remember if there's a reason why I do it this way or not. All right, up down is going to be easy. Again, same sort of thing I need for when you use the up down keys, again, because I can't do that with a controller. So that's 1. And that's going to be 4 for up down. All right, that's there, and that's going to be up down. So we want up is going to be up. Down is there. All right, good. So that's up, down. And then I believe, I can't remember, controllers are either push toggles, I can't remember, but we'll work with them. We got AD. AD is going to get the same treatment here. That's for the swivel. And WS, that's going to turn to 2 is WS. This is going to be the swivel, which is 1. That'll be the swivel here. And we just need to put an up-down counter in here. There's our swivel, and then connectors. I have to play with these to see what they're going to do. You have connectors release. They're going to automatically go, so we want to have them release on one of buttons and 2. So we're going to do 1, 2 for now, and then I'll play with them in a second here when I figure out what I'm doing. So we're going to play with this for now. All right, crane down is going to be the down node on all these pretty much. Connectors. Those are release connectors. Should have 4 on it. 4, okay, good. Hard points right there. It's going to be release. Track in. It's going to be down. Track out. It's going to be up. Swivel. All right, and then we're going to go ahead and let's look at the world here. That's our base, so we're going to... Might get... what's up with the move? Did they change something? I haven't been able to move my vehicles here in a hot minute. Stop pointing at me, cat. Sit down. Why can't I move my build? This has been happening. I don't know why this is doing this. Stop for a minute. Yeah, see, I haven't had move in the last couple days. Did they break something with move? Interesting. Let's do this. Cat won't leave me alone. It's not helpful. Okay. And then let's go ahead and import a container. All right, so there's that. those are all grabbed. All right, the swivel turns. Swivel's going to get moved to left, right, and then the crane is going to be... So that's acting up because of the flexibility in that. You see, one of the reasons I don't like using this linear, so that's fine. We're going to fix that. Well, I don't like using those linear parts. Because this is starting to have flexibility problems. So what we're going to do is I'm going to get rid of that, as it's not my favorite way to do it anyways. And what we will do is this. That's about as far back as I wanted it actually here anyway. We use these linears. Go ahead and grab these track segments. Okay, that will go like that. All right, do that. Use grippers. All right, so now that's connected up. I gotta add some nodes to this, but everything's working pretty well so far. All right, we've got, so 2 is WS, and then we've got 1 is currently the swivel. I want to make that 3. These parts can go down here for now. I never got to actually test these out. And then we want to go ahead and grab the same thing for this swivel here. There. This will be 1 for AD for the actual crane itself. So the swivel of the main boom. Okay. Crane swivel. Alright, so the crane's got its swivel now, and then these, I'll figure out these in a second. Crane swivel, track in, track out. Alright, so I gotta change track in, track out are gonna be numbers. So what we'll do here is this. So track in, track out are going to be a number going out. So what we need to do here is go and we'll make this the rate we want it. So the speed we want it to go is 0.1. We'll enable it. It'll be -0.1, 0.1. I moved those, so they're going to get screwed up, but that's fine for now. All right, then what we do is when this number here is 0, so I don't want it to move, I'm going to put on the gripper brakes. That's a better way to do that. What are you, sir, madam? You are track. Track goes here. I moved some shit, so we're going to have to double check it here. That's track. And we've got gripper brake. Again, stacking nodes, I would like the devs to put stacking nodes in like they did with the microcontrollers, because then these gripper can be 1x1s. That would be fan-frickin-tastic. I would love to see that. Swivel. That is, which one's crane swivel? Swivel. All right, that's that swivel, and then this one's the other swivel. All right, I didn't really good naming scheme for that shit, but all right, so now 0.1's probably too slow. I can change that, and I can also put a multiplier on it so that it I can easily change it to where I want it. But you don't want these things moving too fast either. That's when it starts shaking and causing problems. So it's like, you know, you end up causing yourself problems by moving too fast as well. All right, the gripper brake is not braking, so I gotta check on that. All right, that's still swiveling there. I just have them in the wrong way. So this is backwards as far as I'm concerned on that. All right, so we need to work on the gripper brake. Get the fuck off there. Okay, I'm trying to bring it back. I have to click this. All right, my two swivels are backwards. I got to rename them so I can actually tell what the hell I'm doing. This one here is supposed to be the crane swivel, called crane swivel. What's the other one called? Container swivel. All right, container swivel there. This needs to be cut, flipped. I can merge it up. All right, that's merged up now. See why the gripper brake is not working. So we could do it this way. Okay, I gotta put the 0 in there. That's fine. Let's fix that. So it's not X or W is fine. Not X or W. Yeah, we'll gripper brake that. And then if that condition, it will 0 this out. Or I could just keep it the way I had it there and do this. And now that will work this, and that will zero this out. And then this can go to the 0 like it already is. That works. So either way is fine. And then 0.1 was too little. So what we can do here is this. And it will be x times, and then we'll just do, is it z? Z. X times z. All right, and then that will allow us to use a property number here. And then we'll put a multiplier in there. So it's going to be and then 0.1 was too slow, so let's put 0.25, and then that way I don't have to open up the microcontroller to change that speed. I can just go right in here and I can change my track speed. So, all right, let's see. Should be able to get this moving and stop it, and the brakes grab. They do now. Okay, good. See if the swivels are working the way they're supposed to. Nope. Fucking still backwards, huh? Fix those. All right, let's do that. That's just nodes. All right, this is the crane swivel, and that one is the container swivel. So the container swivel should be there, and the crane swivel should be there. All right. The other thing that's nice for it too is if you wanted to put some sort of way to count up the speed so you could increase the speed of things, you could do that. So like when you're not hauling a container, you may want to move that faster. When you are hauling a container, you probably want to move it slower. So all right, so like I said, part of the reason I'm doing this, okay, is that moving? Why is that sliding? The grippers should be grabbing. See if I can get up there and see if the grippers are actually grabbing. Because the grippers are usually pretty damn strong. Brake is true, okay. They just... a little bit slidey. Oh, see there? I have a gap, I think, in there. Might be a gap. Let me look if there's a gap. Could be a gap where there's no gripper track there. Let me look. Yeah, that's probably what it is. There's plenty there. I don't know what the deal is. I doubt that's the issue. All right, and then 0.25, let's go up to 0.35 there. Just be a little bit faster. But yeah, again, kind of what I'm doing this for is I'd like to make another episode of the New Player Career Build series where we talk about, kind of show how you can use the add-on editor to put this at the dock, load your ship, especially if you have a tiny ship, so you can get into containers earlier, and then and it's free. It doesn't cost you anything to do it. And then when you get to the next dock, you put you bring the crane back and you unload, and so you're not having to own these cranes, and you're not having to leave them in the world, which could cause lag, especially if your computer's a potato. All right, so this has all the rotary motion that I need. To put this on and off the boat. We'll move it closer to the edge so you don't have to, so close. But this is a good Proof of concept. All right, good. And let's go ahead and make this work with a one thing I gotta do here. I'll do it real quick. All right, let's do this. I gotta figure out disconnection. All right, let's go ahead and do that. And what we'll do here is the seat works. We're gonna get rid of it. Jump down, buddy. Let's go ahead and get a controller. Remote. All right, channel 5. That could go a little bit over the left. All right, channel 5 for the for this. All right, that's good there. All right, good. That's most of that. I gotta get this set up back up for radio. That's good. All right. And then I'm trying to remember how that controller is there. Let's spawn it and play with it. All right. I'll catch back up with you guys for chat. I've just been engrossed in this. Yes, I think it'll be good to... Alright, that works. That works fine. That translates fine. That's in and out. The brake could work a little bit stronger. Yeah, it doesn't like that for the swivel. Yeah, the brake is not working as well as I would like. Stop. Damn it, I hate it when it moves the wrong way with this fucking arrow system. Because their grab areas are just too big, and so you end up grabbing the arrow when you don't mean to. Let's see, 1, 2, 3 maybe. 3 off the end, like there, looks good. Doesn't need much power for the track, but the grippers need, by bridging them, they tend to be a little bit stronger, so. Alright, so this is about the worst it's going to be when it's far down, so we want to see if the gripper tracks will stop it. Yeah, it's much better, and then rotate. Get it swinging here a little bit. Yeah, it's much better. So, like, these are the things I can understand new players getting frustrated with. Is like, they're like, oh my god, the physics sucks. And it's like, part of it is, like, figuring out that it's better to have one linear track than 2 linear tracks for stability and then have dual grippers. So, it's like, you know, that's kind of hard. Sometimes I get that. I'm going to end up switching this from probably... I'm going to probably make that 360 and this 360, switching them to velocity pivots. But again, you know, I like to start with proof of concepting, and then once it's working, we can move on from there, and this is. So let's go ahead and do... All right, so I'm getting nothing on release, so I need to work on that. So I hate it when this like sticks my feet and I can't move. So this is like what people are, their complaint is when they go and they use the oil rig to build a boat, which it's not for. And then they're like, oh my God, it doesn't work. And it's like, yeah, it's not intended for that. All right, release. Let's check my releases. So we got hard point, gripper brake, crane up, down. Connectors, so that's the connectors. Release there. Where's the hard point release? Did I not put that in there? I hooked them all the same ones. That's fine. Easiest way to do this is with a light. Just get a light and see what it does. So you can put a light right there, and then you hook it up to the thing you're trying to turn on and off, which is the connectors, and then just put it in the light, and then I should be able to. Okay, so that's got it on. That's fine. So one is working for the release. All right, so now we just need to, so we know it's working. We need to translate the code now to work with the fact that, yes, it is toggling it on and off. Which actually, release. Okay, so we'll make this a little bit fancier. So that's currently a toggle, right? And that's down here. And then 2 is hard point. I had a hard point. Where did I not hook that up? For now, I'll leave the functionality in there. But right now, it's toggle. So we'll do a pulse. Which a pulse is a toggle to push. So this turns into a push. So what we can do is real quickly go back and test, and we visualize the functionality. So before, when I pressed it, it was on. Now, am I on 5 still? Okay, there we go. So now it's a push. So, but I have to double tap it. But you see now it's a toggle. So I have to press it, and it goes off and on. Off and on. So it's giving me that, but it's pulsing it too. So I'm trying to decide if I want it toggle or not. So what we're going to do is I want it as a toggle, but I want to change some functionality. So right now, if I push 1, I drop a container. That could ruin my play session, right? I drop a container. I just spent 20, 30, 40 minutes moving. So this will give me a flash of that. Let's see. So that's giving me if I'm pressing it. And so this is going to do we're going to do timer. All right, and so we're going to go to timer there, and then we're going to do an and. So 2 conditions when this is toggled and I'm been pressing it for 3 seconds, say. This is much easier with a seat than this because I can't configure the controller. All right, so say 3 seconds there, and then that will go to the connectors. And again, we can visualize this with a light. So instead of taking the time and wasting the time, pushing it out, dropping it down, grabbing the connector, see what it does, I can use a light to do all that. All right, so press 1. I'm going to tap it. All right, nothing. I'm holding it. It's not going to work because it's going to toggle first and then it's going to pulse. Let's try it without that. So that's the timer. If I pulse it, off, on, always. Let's run it always real quick. I want to see, I haven't done it always in a while. I want to see what it looks like. So it's just directly connected. So if I tap it, All right, so now, all right, so every time I tap it, it's coming up, but it's extinguishing itself. So I need it to come up and on. So I need it to be a full push. But I need it to not do the auto, the double tap shit. I hate that. All right, so now, okay, so it's going on and off. Let's catch up with chat here while I get a second. $11 by $11 by 39. What are you talking about? Containers are 11 by 11 by 29. All right, we'll see you later, Rasmus. Thanks for hanging out. So they're toggles. I'm trying to get toggle the push with a timer on it. Let's not screw around too much. I don't want to screw around too much. Let's just keep this as a toggle. All right, so that's going to be on and off. That's fine. Do that. So that's real simple and easy. All right, so let's wrap this up, paint it real quick just so that we can use it. And then I'm going to if you kind of just join, you didn't realize what I'm doing here, is so one of the things I'm trying to do here is I'm going to make a new player career build series video about how you can use the add-on editor, especially when you're first starting, to do some container missions, and you don't have to bring a ship that can move containers. Like, I've got a bunch of ships that are big enough, have enough advanced systems that they can move a container, but for most people that's kind of some advanced business, and so they can't really do that. And so this makes it a little bit easier by you can get a free crane to do this. I'll work these lights later, but I'm going to go and save this. All right, so here's dock crane. I'm going to date it. I like to date this stuff because then I can use the name dock crane again, and I don't have to worry about, like, screwing around and like, what did I call it? Dock crane 2, you know? I can be like, dock crane, and all my dock cranes will come up. They're dated. It makes it much easier. It's kind of new scheme there. All right, good. So this is up, and what we'll do here is I'm going to go ahead and we will... That's saved, right? Saved. All right, dock crane. So I'm going to show you what I mean here. So we're going to go ahead. I'm going to go to here. So this is Spy Cakes. I'm going to put the dock crane somewhere here so we don't need to be able to spawn it. And so the reason for this is, okay, so I started my new career series here. I own this base. I don't have enough money to go buy Spy Cakes. So I can't go and... So if I wanted to go and do container stuff, I would have to also be able... I'd have to be able to spawn my boat and spawn some sort of loading crane to drive over here and load it on top. That's fine. That's not too much money, but I might not have that money yet. Then the boat can go over here and dock, but then the problem becomes if I don't own this base, I can't spawn my vehicle. So I can use the add-on editor to spawn a vehicle over here for free. So that lets me do it earlier and do that. Spawn a vehicle over here and do it for free. Or I can spawn a crane if I want to do a stationary crane. So this gives me more options. So let's go ahead and we're going to go in the add-on editor. You can't see what I'm doing, unfortunately. It goes blue. I'm going to name this Komodo. Spy Cakes Crane. All right, Spy Cakes Crane. I'm going to put the date. Makes it easier. All right, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go mission locations. You're not going to be able to see this, unfortunately. But just go through the list, find Spy Cakes, and then we're going to edit objects. Now you can see it. So we're going to go in here. We're going to grab our vehicle. All right, and we're going to grab our dock crane. Now, I got to remember how to do some of this myself, but we're going to keep zooming in here. All right, and we're going to take the dock crane, and we can move it around. We can rotate it. All right, and I do want to change it so they can go 360, but I don't want to screw around with too much for too long here. All right, so I can put a free crane in here. And I'm going to put it at 90 degrees so it can go to the ship and it can go out as well. So we'll do it like this. A little bit more rotation here. I'm going to put it right on the, not quite on the edge there. I want that blue line on the edge so I can see it. But like, say right there, okay. Now I got to look at this. I think is static is supposed to be true. I'm not 100% sure. Go through the options here. I'm going to put is static true and we'll play with it. So now what you want to do is you want to save it, right? So go save. And it's going to be spy cake, crane, and I'll date it. All right, and that's saved. And now what we do is we load it. There it is. And you won't be able to see this, but on the very bottom right is going to be test location on the bottom. We're going to click that. And bingo, our crane just spawned. Okay, and so now we have a free crane. I want to make sure we can actually move it. So let's go to the 5 one here. All right, so now because it's static, it means the base is not going to be able to move, but as you can see, the crane moves. It still has functionality. And so this allows us to be able to spawn our crane, and we can load and unload a ship. This doesn't cost us any money. That's great. So what we can do then, I'm just going to get this so I don't have it on me. All right, so that's going to allow me to spawn my crane and pick stuff up and down and do all the things I want to do. Load. I can, load it up. I can move it back over here. I can drop it down on the dock. I can load my my mission up. If I also wanted a container mover, right, so as soon as I go to the add-on editor, right, that didn't cost me any money because I'm testing it. I'm going to go to the add-on editor. It says your current testing a mission. Returning to the add-on editor will despawn all vehicles and objects associated with the mission. This is what we want, so we're going to confirm that. This allows us to get rid of the crap we don't need anymore so that it's not taxing our system. All right. You can also do things like, okay, well, let's say I'm just starting out and I don't have the money to spawn both my boat and something to move the container. Real simple, right? All you do is you come in here and you get, say, a container shifter. You put that in the world there. You save it over Spy Cake's crane. Right? You go back, you load it, and then you're not going to be able to see it, but you do the test location, and bingo. Now we have a vehicle. This one is not set to static, so I can drive this one around. This is all free. And so this allows you to start doing things like container missions if you want to right off the bat, because you don't have to worry about paying for the crane and the shifter and my boat. I could just do my boat. You don't have to worry about having such a huge boat to be able to put a container on. So like looking at some of my vehicles that can shit, where am I at here? Let's go ahead and grab the grab one of my barges. So barges are a great way to start because a barge is really wide, and because they're really wide, they are stable. And so with the nice wide, stable nature of a barge, you can very quickly and easily build a barge, push it with another boat. I usually will make little tugboats to do it. You can go grab the container here off the preset. We can spawn this. And now you can see that is a pretty small, incredibly cheap, affordable. This one even has things like APUs and everything else. Boat, quote-unquote boat, to be able to push around and move containers, go make us some money. And some of them are pretty lucrative for a really low input cost for us. I'm just going to move this a little bit so it's right there. All right. All right, and then we'll then we'll be able to do all this, so we don't have to buy everything. And eventually, if we wanted to and we could buy everything, we'd do it later. But right there, and you can see how this just makes it so we can get into container moving a lot quicker. And so I'll make the episode of the New Player Career Build series at some point with all this. I just wanted to get a crane built, and then we're going to use it in the career game here too. And, you know, one of the reasons that precipitated this, too, is I see a lot of people like, oh, it sucks that, you know, we used to have this and they took it away. And it's like, well, you can still do it yourself, right? You can build your own crane, and you can go ahead and put it in with the add-on for free. And so a lot of people just don't know this. And so that's why I wanted to kind of make that new episode of the Career Build series so people could realize, hey, you know, this thing you want to do, you can do. Everything's there for you to do it. And I would actually rather the devs not put some default crane in that I don't like the way it functions. I would much rather go myself and build the thing that I want, which is, you know, this crane that has the functionality I want, than to, you know, have their version of what I want, you know. It's going to pick up the whole barge here. And one thing, too, is because it's not some crane that is just, like, sitting there and weighted down, look how strong it is, right? It's picking up the entire barge, you know, out of the water. You know, so that's, it's very strong. You know, so we can do this very easily and move these around. And so this is a good way to play too, so you can get at some of this gameplay earlier where, like late game, I literally have a bunch of cranes that could drive over here from the base over there and put them in. But I don't have the money right now in my career game to also buy Komodo and also spawn all the stuff over there. So I'd have to spawn them here, drop them out, and then I'd have to buy Komodo just to go do some container missions. Well, I don't have to do that. Okay. I want to know why. I have it set up to do a release. It's not doing release. All right, press 1. Release connector. Okay, connected true. Yeah, I want to release connector. That was the whole light, and that should be connected. But worst case scenario, just do this, and then that should release them. The problem is the hard point is still connected, and that's actually not that hard either. All you do is go here and you grab it, and that will release it. So it's released now. We'll fix that. But you see, like, we can do this now for moving stuff around. So it's a pretty good way to do it, and it's free-ish. But I'm going to go ahead. We'll finish up. I'll probably stream a little bit later as well. I'm going to take a break. But we got a lot done. Did our career game. I'm just going to despawn this. Show you how to despawn it. You go to add-on editor. End the mission. Close it out. And bingo. The container's there because I spawned it with the boat. Return to workbench. All right, so you see, like, that's all gone and free now. But we got a lot done. We went ahead and we tested out the helicopter a little bit more. We went and sold some fuel, which gave us some money. Did some missions. So, pretty good play session there. All right, guys, so if you liked the video, go ahead and give the video a like. If you're new and you enjoyed it, consider subscribing. I'll see you guys in the next one.